Welcome back. Now, there is a landmark case currently ongoing on trial in the United States of America involving a woman called Donna Adelson. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this case, don't worry, I have you in mind because this case is not a standalone case. This case is the pinnacle of other cases that have already been tried and convictions passed out on. And it has to do with the 2014 death of a man called Dan Markel. He was actually unalived or murdered by people who were later found to have been contracted as hitmen by some members of his in-laws' family. To that point, prosecution and the legal system were able to eventually find two individuals guilty as the main hitmen that executed the whole hit, and eventually went on to find that the brother-in-law of Dan Markel, called Charlie Adelson, was a key person in the masterminding of his unaliving. So he was also taken through the legal process and found guilty of the murder of Dan Markel in 2014, and he has also been convicted and sentenced to prison as of some few years ago. So one would have thought that, oh, that ends the case, but that actually didn't end the case, because investigators went further and found that it's not just these two hit people and Charlie Adelson who are in cahoots on this whole conspiracy and actual execution of the murder on Dan Markel, but it looks like other family members of Charlie Adelson, that is, other family members of the in-law family of Dan Markel, could possibly still be implicated in his murder. One is his own mother-in-law, called Donna Adelson, who at a point was rumored to have tried fleeing the country but was arrested and has since now been put on trial as being possibly the matriarch mastermind of the entire murder plot. Bear in mind that Dan Markel has been dead since 2014, but this is the progress of the whole investigation that has traveled to this point. So that is about 11 years now. Within those years, the hitmen have been found and prosecuted and sentenced to prison. His brother-in-law has been found guilty. His estranged wife, who he had two kids with, Wendy Adelson herself, is allegedly a lawyer. She is yet to be implicated, but her mother, that is Donna Adelson, is now on trial as being the key mastermind, possibly, of the entire crime. Now, this video I'm bringing out seeks to highlight one key development that has come out on this case, particularly with regards to the fact that Donna Adelson has been in custody as the trial was being put together and all. And it has come out that apparently Donna Adelson confessed to one, not even just one, actually two people inside the jailhouse that she was at, where in that confession she actually admitted that she was a key stakeholder in the whole murder plot on her own son-in-law, but that she didn't intend it to go far. That is what we are going to get into in today's episode, to let you know who this person she confessed to was, and the details of it, and what she even offered as an incentive to the person by trying to convince the person to go to the extent of giving false testimony that will take the lens off her, the lens of suspicion and everything would have been taken off her. She was actually trying to go so far, allegedly, to circumvent the success of the prosecution. So just buckle up. It's a whole ride. And we go. So, as at few days ago, Patricia Byrd is a woman who was formerly a jailmate of Donna Adelson, and she put out a testimony talking about the fact that Donna Adelson had actually confided in her that she was responsible for the whole plot. She was a key player, and that she actually needed her to help her in the whole thing. And this was the deal that Donna Adelson put before Patricia Byrd. According to Patricia Byrd's testimony, she's saying that Donna Adelson offered her a series of gifts in exchange for her cooperation. Now, these gifts included, among other things, land, a trailer, dental work, and some petty snacks that Donna Adelson was allegedly giving to Byrd whilst they were in the prison. But the land, trailer, and dental work were to be given to her outside of the prison premises, of course. And according to Byrd, this was to be facilitated by Donna Adelson's husband. Now, per the agreement Donna Adelson was proposing Byrd consent to, she was offering that Byrd would have to put out a false testimony to investigators. And the central part of this agreement, hinging on this false testimony, was just so the testimony would be fabricated about one of the hitmen already convicted, called Catherine McBanoa. And Donna wanted Byrd to lie and claim that McBanoa had told her that the hitman involved in her son-in-law's murder had actually tried to extort the Adelson family. Now, you may be wondering, why would she want Byrd to have lied like that? The purpose of this lie was to suggest that the Adelsons as a family were actually victims of an extortion scheme, not conspirators in a murder for hire plot. See how tactical it is. And so you would begin to understand, per this allegation, why some people are alleging that Donna Adelson is actually a matriarchal mastermind. Yeah. Also, in addition to this, Byrd is also testifying that Donna Adelson confessed to her involvement in the murder of her son-in-law. According to Byrd, Adelson stated, and I quote, "She said she did it." This is Byrd talking, I quote, "She said she did it. She needed to keep her grandkids and it wasn't supposed to go that far." End of quote. Now, if all this is true, it begins to have possible serious implications on the case, which may go against Donna Adelson. But I'm just going to put this out. This is my own analysis. It's not me speaking to what I think the case should be. So I think that it's important that we draw the line. But here are some of the possible implications of how some of this could play out. Now, the first is that this could be construed as a direct evidence of guilt, because per what Byrd is testifying to, it becomes very significant because it is actually the first time in court that a direct confession from Donna Adelson has been presented. While other evidence such as wiretapped conversations and text messages has also been presented, this particular statement coming from this woman, who was actually documented as being a cellmate or a jailmate of Donna Adelson, becomes something that is very powerful in terms of the pieces of evidence being leveled as support to the charges against Donna Adelson, and by extension adds to the power of the pieces of evidence that are going to be presented on the case to help influence the jury. So that does not really look good for Donna Adelson. Now, the next bit is also its relation to motive and intent. In this regard, the alleged confession provides a very clear motive. I quote, she is saying that Donna Adelson said, and I quote, she needed to keep her grandkids. Now, in the annals of criminal law, that is what we call motive, because it then makes it clear as to the reason why Donna Adelson will do what she's alleged to have done. I keep saying alleged because it's important we bear in mind that in the eyes of the law, irrespective of how it looks, she is still presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of competent jurisdiction. That is very important to note. But in terms of the implications of this, if it turns out to be true, it aligns with the prosecution's theory that the murder of Dan Markel, the son-in-law of Donna Adelson, was as a result of a bitter custody dispute between Dan Markel and the daughter of Donna Adelson, called Wendy Adelson. This statement also suggests an element of regret, given the fact that she added, I quote, "It wasn't supposed to go that far." And even with that, it still places Adelson squarely in the middle of the conspiracy. Now, let me digress a bit. Given that the center of all this emanates from a divorce between a couple who once loved each other so much, and the fact that it's been alleged the mother of the woman went to these extents in collaboration and in conspiracy with other people, including her own son, who at a time was the brother-in-law of the victim who has been murdered, it begins to throw more light on the dangerous and rippling effects of most divorces in families. I'll be continuing the possible implications of this testimony on the case, but I need to bring this out because most often you just hear people say, oh yeah, there's a problem in the marriage, get a divorce. People just throw the word around, and sometimes these are coming from people who actually are not even married, have no experience in counseling marriages, and actually have no life experience to be qualified enough to speak on a marriage. But you just find them being theoretical and mostly ignorant and just putting those words out there. But I tell you, if you are close to families that have gone through divorces and you witness the damage left in the wake of that divorce, you would begin to realize that those people who advocate for divorces need to sit and learn more, because it's not as easy as just going to court and getting divorced, because lives are at stake. Issues of mental health and generational impact are at stake. In all this, let's backtrack to see what this case has brought up between these two families. Dan Markel, as of May 2014, has been murdered. His family has lost him. Now, if you go to his in-law's side, his brother-in-law is in jail as being a co-conspirator to his murder. Other people who actually executed the hits on him are also in jail. Their families have lost them. They came into the picture because there was a conspiracy to unalive Dan Markel as a result of a custody battle, as a result of his divorce with his wife. Fast forward, now his mother-in-law is also in court, being possibly suspected as maybe even the key mastermind in all this. In which case, if the prosecution is successful, she's also going to jail. And who knows? They may even want to look at the wife or the ex-wife, the daughter of the grandma and the sister of the brother-in-law who is already in jail, and the grandma who is borderline almost in jail or almost to be saved. So look at the distraction that has come out of this. Not to talk of the fact that they have 2 kids. The victim, Dan Markel, and his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, the daughter of Donna Adelson, who is actually on trial now. They have 2 kids, and it's looking like the whole murder and everything was just with regards to who gets to keep the kids. This is how 2 families have been devastated by a decision to divorce. That is not me saying that if the marriage has gotten to a point, if things are so bad and you need to consider it, you shouldn't. No, that's not me. I'm just saying that it requires wisdom. That's all. And by extension, imagine the impact it will have on these kids, the 2 kids that they have, to know that their father was murdered, and he was murdered by a hit squad. And this hit squad, as has been proven in court, was hired by the brother of their mother. And now their grandmother is also a key suspect. And if she's convicted, it means their grandmother and their mother's brother were part of the plot to unalive their father. And as if that is not bad enough, the reason for all that was because their mother's family wanted to keep them. Look at how nasty that is. Imagine a child having to grow up with that on their conscience. I don't know this, but I'm hoping that the children are getting a form of support that shields them from the possible traumas of all these things. But I digress. Let me get back on the case. Now, like I was saying, this allegation as a possible confession by Donna Adelson has these possible 2 effects, but there's a third one, and that is the consciousness of guilt. Now, the testimony that Donna Adelson tried to bribe Byrd to lie is powerful evidence because of what is legally known as consciousness of guilt. And let me touch on that. A person who is innocent in the eyes of the law would have no reason to try and fabricate a defense by leveraging on bribery so somebody will lie to the court. This testimony, if believed by the jury, suggests that Donna Adelson knew she was guilty and was desperately trying to manipulate the legal system to secure her discharge and acquittal. And exactly. Now, it doesn't even end there, because that statement also could be implied as corroboration from other informants, because the impact of Byrd's statement is compounded by the testimony of another jailhouse informant called Donna Bernhardt, who also claimed that Donna Adelson tried to solicit false testimony from her and even provided a script. Yeah. I don't say it's true, but in an abstract sense, you begin to see how it could be possible that somebody with money and power may want to leverage on that power, influence, and money available to them to try and get people who are already desperate in jail to succumb to certain things to help them evade justice for something they are probably may be guilty of. Now, the fact that 2 separate informants are making similar claims strengthens the prosecution's argument and makes it even more difficult for Donna Adelson's defense team to dismiss them as isolated or unreliable witnesses. And as if that is not bad enough, guess what? A forensics expert also testified that the script that was provided by this second jailhouse informant, Donna Bernhardt, who said that Donna Adelson actually wrote that script of false testimony for her to read and pass on to the court, they've confirmed that that script is very believable to be in Donna Adelson's handwriting. With all this, and even other evidence that is already being heaped to support the prosecution's claim on Donna Adelson and her part in the unaliving of her son-in-law, Dan Markel, it becomes a huge mountain for her to climb, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's not able to beat it. But at this point, someone may also be wondering, how does her defense team also go against this? I'm suspecting the defense team strategy may be to challenge the credibility of these jailhouse informants. Definitely, because if they're able to successfully debunk their credibility, everything that comes from them will die out, and its impact will not be realized, in which case it becomes a good thing for Donna Adelson. But then the statements, especially the alleged confession, are a significant blow to this case. And I'm suspecting the defense will likely try to portray Byrd as an unreliable witness who is seeking a deal or leniency in exchange for her testimony. Because bear in mind, she herself, that's Byrd, also has her own legal issues that she's dealing with. And the defense team may also try to show that the conversations were misinterpreted or taken out of context. But I think that the law has a way of dealing with these things. And it is expected the defense team will try. But as to whether they will be successful, that is something we leave to the court and the jury and wait to see what the outcome will be. But like I said, this is one of the cases that I've followed over the years. You can go to my playlist, you will see the various aspects of it, right from when the son-in-law, Dan Markel, was unalived whilst he was in his garage by Catherine McBanoa and her boyfriend, right from their arrest through and through to what went into it, everything to the court case, they being tried, found guilty, sent to prison. Then the next phase of the investigation through to the son of Donna Adelson, that is the victim's brother-in-law, also being arrested, indicted, found guilty and sentenced, through to Donna Adelson when she tried making some funny moves upon the conviction of her son, and now we are where we are. Follow this channel, subscribe to it, and you won't miss a thing. Not just on this case, but other developing cases across the world, not just from my country, Ghana. And I admonish you to share my videos because, like I was telling you, these cases have a lot of lessons in them. If you're a married man and you are watching this, or a married woman, or a married person for that matter, and you are watching this, ask yourself, would you want your family to go through this by virtue of your rash decision to divorce? And by extension, wouldn't you even want to be more careful when you are going into a marriage so you don't end up divorcing and possibly facing some of these things? Because at a point, someone may say they are human beings, they have their vulnerabilities, they were trying to use what they have to get what they want. And I will say that it doesn't make sense. The fact that you are rich and powerful does not mean. This is in the context of Charlie Adelson, because Donna is yet to be found guilty. But as has been seen in Charlie's case, you having money does not mean you can solicit hits on people just because you have an issue with them. But this is the world we live in, and you are more on a better side to have a channel bringing these things to you and showing you what is going on across the world to help you guide your thoughts, guide your steps, guide your relationships, and overall preserve and protect your life and that of your loved ones. Subscribe if you are yet to do so. Leave your comments in the comment section. What do you think about this whole thing? Let's have a dialogue in the chat box or the comment section. And I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.